Giratina is back and in a big way. What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm excited to cover an early look at Giratina VSTAR from Lost Origin and show you 5 ways you could play it. So why Giratina of all things? Well, it reintroduces the Lost Zone. So Giratina, obviously the attack and the VSTAR power are the two most glaring ones, but there are mechanics in this set that Giratina plays well with that take advantage of the Lost Zone. So the Lost Zone, if something goes in there, it's gone. That's it. It's not coming back, hence the Lost Zone. The last time we have seen interaction with it was 2018, the Lost Thunder set, the Prism Stars, anything really. There was a Lost March, I believe, deck that tried to take advantage of it, but it was just awful. But this time around, it looks like they've done a pretty good job with it, and it's going to be a ton of fun to mess around with this deck and other decks. So you should be aware of the Lost Zone, as it is a fun mechanic. This Pokemon in particular is tailor-made to one-hit KO Pokemon V-Star. So that Lost Impact 280, put 2 energy attached to your Pokemon into the Lost Zone, that right there gets an Uncharmed, Arceus, Palkia, everybody in the mix. You can throw in a Headbutt Tantrum from Zigzagoon to hit anything that's at the 290. You can throw in a Choice Belt to hit anything with a 310. So say Mew forgets to put down their Oricorio or they cut it for whatever reason. That's a one-hit KO with 3 energy. That's not bad. If you need to hit a little harder, say those pesky Eternatus, should somebody be playing, or Rapid Strike Urshifu because it's such a well-designed card, it's not hard for this card to go above and beyond and make sure whatever is put in front of it is knocked out in one hit. It is efficient, it is effective, and it is powerful. And of course, no weakness. So a lot of the recent gripes and complaints have been, well, the next set is just going to release the weakness to this card. There's no weakness on this card. Palkia had to worry about lightning. Eternatus had to worry about fighting. The Urshifus had to worry about psychic. So on, so forth. Giratina doesn't have to worry about that. That's a 280 hit point body with no weakness. You can charm it up, you can bulk it up, you can do whatever you need to get that number a little higher and make it more sustainable while you're ripping through their board. I'm going to use a quick comparison of Zacian V. So when Zacian V came out, it was kind of the standard setter. It was the format definer. The 220 for 3 was a phenomenal attack range to be hitting. We didn't have Choice Belts at the time. We had different means of damage modification, but 220 for 3 and you couldn't attack that turn was a good attack. I'm telling you, 280 for 3 and you remove energy off of any of your Pokemon, not just the one in the active. You can repeatedly attack. If Giratina survives the turn, you can attack with it again the following turn. Zacian, you still had to move it around, or you had to shuffle through them. And the extra 60 hit points of bulk is a big difference maker for this card. So Zacian was great, and it was a terrific card. Giratina is just that much better. Alright, so something you need to be aware of. The Lost Engine. So the Lost Engine is the new acceleration that'll kind of work together with a handful of cards. The most key one you should be aware of is Mirage Gate. So you can only play this if you have 7 or more cards in the Lost Zone. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy of different types and put them onto your Pokemon in any way you like. So this is an item card. We can play 4 in one turn. Once we get to that 7 number, the Lost Engine is rocked and rolling. So I know you're asking, well, how do we get there? Don't worry, I got you. Giratina is probably the first one you'll see, but there are other archetypes I'm excited to visit and revisit with Mirage Gate. And how do we do this? So of course, the poster boy, the trainer face of the Lost Engine, Colress. So Colress's experiment lets you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put 3 of them into your hand, put the other cards into the Lost Zone. So right there, we're looking for 3, throwing away 2. So we play that once or twice, we're up to 4 cards. We're not quite there. And then there is a Pokemon poster child of the Lost Engine, is Comfey. So between Comfey and Colress, you are trying to get up to that 7 number, or in other instances 10 or 4. Your magic 3 numbers to be hitting for cards in the Lost Zone are 4, 7, and 10. Comfey, flower picking. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon's in the active, look at the top 2, keep 1, put it into your hand, put the other into the Lost Zone. You can recycle these with scoop up nets. You can use switch. if you have multiple Comfies in play, you can play them. So you can play, let's say, 2 or 3 Comfies the first turn, a Colress, so then we're up to roughly about 5 cards, or 2 to 3, 4 to 5 cards first turn. Then we'll do it again, so a couple more Comfies. Then we're in Mirage Gate, we're live, we're rolling. Turn 2, you see how easy that is to get going? And then of course you can play Colress again, just to kind of get to that 10 card threshold, which is relevant, and I'll show you why. So some cards you should be aware of. They're not part of the engine per se, but they interact with the engine phenomenally. And I'm just going to pause right here and say a huge shout out to TaloniteX for his amazing proxies. Does them every set. They are so helpful in playtesting, terrific to look at, and a very easy visual to grasp the new cards that are coming. Huge shouts to him. I'm going to put his link for Twitter down below and his YouTube channel, and you should check him out. The guy's fantastic. I love these proxies. Thanks, man. Okay, so back to that. So the first utility is Lost Sweeper. So play this card if you put another card from your hand into the Lost Zone. So that's one card there. Choose a Pokemon tool or stadium card from either player and put that into the Lost Zone. So right there, this one is puts 2 cards into the Lost Zone. Terrific. Fantina. This is why I said you might want to have 10. You can play this if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone. Your opponent's Pokemon do 120 less damage to your Pokemon V, or from their Pokemon V. So you take 120 less damage from their Pokemon V during their turn. So Fantina is a terrific bulk sustain. So you play one of these with Giratina. Giratina is an effective 400, or everything. You have to be doing 400 damage to Giratina in order to get the 1-hit KO. Very, very good card. We do use it in some of the lists here. And then of course Sableye. So Sableye has the attack. You can use this if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone and put 12 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. We're already playing Psychic Energy, so getting into the late game, we can always use Sableye to clean up should we miss a KO, or soften something up to ensure a KO. Sableye is a terrific one-prizer that you might even be able to build a deck around. I haven't had a chance to mess with it yet, but it is something you really should keep in mind. And then of course, Cramorant. So this is why you had to keep the 4 number in mind. So if you have 4 cards in the Lost Zone, this Pokemon attacks for free. So 110 damage that's unaffected by weakness. That could be a tempo setter. That could give you a chance to reestablish your board. Cramorant is just kind of a utility one-prize attacker. Should you want it? Should you need it? But yeah, just keep that in mind. So that's the Lost Zone. That's the utility cards. And with that said, if you like the content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below what you'd like to see next. I'm excited with Giratina, but I have a few more lined up. And with that said, let's take a look at the lists. All right, first one up, I'm calling it Tina Leafeon. So basically the concept of the deck is we are trying to set up Giratina, whether we go first or we go second. We have the DNC in there to protect us should we have to go second. And we are going to use Leafeon to accelerate an energy from our deck to the Giratina along with the attachment for turn. So that way by turn 2, we are punching for damage. We have the Hawlucha to bring us up to 310 damage on Pokemon V Maxes, and Choice Belt to go through on Pokemon V Stars with a big charm, or Pokemon V Maxes that try to hide in that 330 threshold. So we are a 1-hit KO machine. We have foregone the Lost Engine in this deck, and our V-Star power of choice will be Leafeon's IV Star. So we can Gardenia and we can Boss's Orders in the same turn. It's a pretty straightforward deck. This one may or may not pick up. It is fun to play. Having Greening Cells first turn or Greening Cells second turn can really help you set up a multiple line of attackers. So that way, sure, your opponent takes out the DNC or they play Cross Switcher to try to take something down, but you can return, and sometimes they cannot respond. I really do like this list. And Thornton is a new card from the set. Essentially, it lets you take a Pokemon from your discard pile and swap places with one of your Pokemon on your bench. So when you swap, you can go, if the Crobat's already been used, you can swap the Crobat out for a Giratina V from your discard pile, and if there was turns in play on your Crobat, you can immediately evolve that new Giratina up to a V-Star, and the momentum is still coming. You'll have another one in play, or if you want to get your IV Star power out because there's no attachments required to it, so you just go turn the Crobat into a Leafeon, evolve Leafeon into the V-Star, and then you Boss's Orders up. It's like a second Eldegoss, essentially. Yeah, so with that said, let's jump into the next one. So we've got This is more of, I call this one bulk Tina. You'll probably see people pitching Goodrow or something else along those lines for this. But essentially, we are utilizing the Lost Engine. So we've got our Comfy, we've got our Colress, we've got our Mirage Gate. We've got 2 copies of Fantina to reduce damage. And we've got a thick count of Giratina. So that way, the idea is we are trying to burn through our deck as quickly as possible, establish 1 to 2 Giratinas on the board, maybe 3. And we are going to hit them for 280 as often as we can and heal damage and make things difficult for them. The Radiant Greninja is just to help us cycle through the deck a little bit faster. Marnie's for some disruption once we're set up. And we're going for Big Charm over Choice Belt here because we don't mind. Once we're big enough, we're not worried about it. We'll go attack, attack, attack. Should they survive, you know, we're not entirely worried either. And we can always go attack something small, attack something smaller, and then we can use Star Requiem to just kind of, if they try to put something bigger than the 280, we can just knock it out. It's in the similar line of the Zacian Zamazenta deck. So we're trying to put up a really big body and see if they can deal with it. If they can't, we win. If they can wall through it or they just move a little faster than we do, it's okay. And again, it's going in order of what I think will see the least amount of play to what I think see the most amount of play. And then of course, I'm calling this one Amazing Giratina. So this one, again, utilizes the Lost Engine, Mirage Gate, Comfy, Colress, again, Backbone's all there. Giratina Gang's all there. Radiant Greninja's pretty much a staple. That's why we're playing the Rods and the Quartz, and just to let us turbo through. But the key difference here is Zacian from Vivid Voltage. So it does 150 damage and 150 more damage if there's a Pokemon VMAX in play on your opponent's side of the board. So you attach a Choice Belt, that's 330. We don't have to work as hard, and we don't have to play a Hawlucha where the matchup is kind of specific. It's also a one prizer. So in most cases, we can work through an uncaped Miltank, or we can work through something. It's just something where we can feed in and go 2-1-2. But again, this is more or less Amazing Giratina. I've seen a few lists of it. It is a ton of fun. But again, Giratina is our main attacker here. The Battle VIP pass is just for that explosive. We need to get as many Compies down early and often, and at least get the 1 to 2 Giratinas out. And 4 Grass, 4 Psychic, 2 Metal. The Grass and the Psychic are pretty self-explanatory because it fits everything in the deck. And the Metal, I'm going to prize one of them, or I'm going to end up Lost Zoning one of them. So I figured having 2 is better than just the 1. All right, next up. So this is the one where my brain first went, honestly. Arceus Giratina. So Arceus pairs with everything. We all know that at this point. If you haven't, feel free to look around. Metagame will show you that Arceus pairs with everything. Pairing it with Giratina, so we've got the Trinity Charge, the Trinity Nova. Set it up however you want. Babarrel, again, Industrious Incisors, Propaganda, let's go. Draw until you have 5 cards in hand. 1 copy of Crobat for some explosive draw turn 1 or mid-game if you got a dig. Radiant Greninja just seems to fit into so many decks. What's to say? And probably the most stupid, overpowered Mew counter I've seen for any deck is Drapion V. So it attacks for 1 colorless less for each battle style Pokemon your opponent has in play. So if your opponent has, let's say, 3 Sobbles in play, it attacks for 1 energy, for 190. If your opponent has 4 Fusion Strike Pokemon in play, it attacks for free and hits Mew for weakness. I didn't see a very clean-cut answer in this list to deal with Mew, so I decided to throw in the Drapion. We're going to test it. If it works, it works. If not, you can always throw in a Choice Belt, or you can put something else in, but I didn't want to play with the whole Oricorio thing. Just slap the Drapion in and see if stupid counter does stupid things. Marnie, Gardenia, some Boss, some Research. Our supporter line's kind of spread all over the place because Trinity Starbirth will be our V-Star power of choice. We're not playing into the Lost Engine here whatsoever. So Trinity Starbirth will be our go-to V-Star power, and it's the only one we can use. But grabbing any 2 cards out of your deck whenever you need them is really, really good. So I figured that overtakes the take a knockout based on a cheeky conditional requirement. So again, and then 4 DTE to improve our chances of opening one, 6 grass because we're playing into Gardenia, 4 psychic. Take your pick. We can manually charge up Leafeon and it's an attacker. We can manually charge up or cheat it in with Gardenia. Very, very fun deck. This is probably one I expect to see more often. But this one here is the most common I'm expecting to see, and I'm calling it Turbo or straight Giratina. So there's nothing cute, there's nothing extra. Giratina is the only attacker you need. So Giratina V has a shred attack. So if anything says don't do damage from Pokemon V, doesn't matter. Giratina V is going through it. Giratina VSTAR again is hitting 280 for ridiculous amounts of damage. In this case, we're not worried about 3 prize Pokemon. We should be, but we're not. You can always cut a Pokegear for a Tool Scrapper or a Choice Belt if you want. But essentially, we're abusing the Lost Engine. If we're not using the Colress the turn, we're using Gardenia. So I put a higher count of Grass Energy here. 2 Ordinary Rod because Radiant Greninja is going to be burning through things. I didn't worry about a Stadium as much in this deck. Big deal, they shut off our Greninja. We just won't play the Greninja. It's not that impactful. Whereas the Comfeys, we need those often. So we've got our Quick Balls, we've got our Ultra Balls, we've got our Tool Jammer. Tool Jammer just blocks Big Charms, blocks Air Balloons. It can be rather annoying, and I figured that might be more useful than the Choice Belt. You know, go figure. But again, feel free to tinker with this one as you see fit. I'm excited to play them all actually, and a Zoroark on the way. But again, the Lost Zone looks to be very well done. And with that said, let's take another thought. So Giratina has the potential to be format defining. 280 is such a relevant number. And for 3 energy is pretty much the almost gold standard. The gold standard is 2, but 3 is just right there. We have so many means of acceleration in the format. Mirage Gate being an item card really helps as well, because you can play multiple in a turn, thin your deck, accelerate, attach for turn. You're off, you're rolling. It's not as difficult once you get through that early stage. Again, 1 Colress and a couple Comfey typically have you online for Mirage Gate, so it is going to be a very quick engine. Energy types can be awkward. Grass and Psychic don't necessarily seem like the best of partners, but again, Mirage Gate doesn't care. As long as you know you have those energy in your deck and one of them in hand, once you hit that 7 in the Lost Zone, they might as well all just be colorless, because Mirage Gate's just going to grab them. You can just play whatever you need. And oh no, I have 2 Grass Energy and a Psychic. Well, one of them's a color cost, so you can basically get away with whatever you need. Decisions early on will impact your late game, so keep that in mind. It's not a deck you can mind-numbingly just pile it through, because if you throw something away early, like if you throw your Scrapper, or you throw your Jammer, or you throw your Belt, or something along those lines, you will miss it. So you got to keep an eye on some of your lower count cards, or just play a lot of high count cards. That's your big one. Play your higher count cards, and then you're not as worried. But again, I don't want to play 4 copies of Choice Belt, so I should still be avoiding putting those in there. Or I have to be aware of what energy I put in early off the Comfey, because I'm also going to be putting them in with Giratina, so you could run out of energy rather quickly. That's probably the biggest thing holding it back. But once you get a couple games in, you get a feel for how it's going, you will quickly realize, okay, so this is what I want to put. This is what I don't want to touch. I can afford to lose that if I know how to take my KOs. Giratina is going to reward a lot of players. It's like, yes, it's a beat stick, but it's a thinking beat stick. And I really, really like that. If you enjoyed the content, you stuck around to the end, here's a beautiful copy of the Japanese alt art. I imagine it's going to go for an astronomical price once we get it in English. Such a beautiful card. Just going to take a moment, stop and look at that. Oh, really, really hoping that they give us something for the V-Star to go with this V, because Giratina looks like a fun deck. Has no weakness, so unless we see some mad power creep in February, I feel like Giratina is going to be around for some time. So if you want to invest in it now, it's going to be a little expensive, but I think it's going to be worth it. People will be messing with it, people will be trying with it. We haven't really seen all of the September set in Japan or anything coming from Scarlet and Violet. So again, the door is still open for this card. Any sort of Psychic support, any sort of grass support can help this. And as long as Arceus is in format with this, I do think it has a chance. And with that said, thanks for watching. You guys are great. Until next time, take care.